Members of the company, this is your Places call. Places, please. Places for the top of the podcast. Places, please.
Get ready for a behind-the-scenes look at the glitz and not-so-glam of Broadway, education, and everyday life with Uncommon Sense. Join hosts Christopher Smith and Sharna Lopez as they bring you the best stories and shenanigans that seemingly prove how elusive common sense can really be. So take a little time for yourself to hang out with the dynamic duo Charnopher. And no leaving early, because you might just miss that 11 o'clock number.
Stand by music. Music, go.
Uncommon sense, the 11 o'clock number. And we are Charnopher.
Ooh, Sharna finished her drink in time for the countdown.
Me, always prepared. Hello, everyone.
But you're all...
Welcome to our episode. Christopher, we have a guest today.
We do. We haven't had a guest in a while, and I'm very excited because we've been thinking about having this guest on for a while. And I know I'm very excited. So I think we should just jump right in. Normally we do like this big introduction, but I think... What, Sharna? What?
No, I'm excited because I mentioned to this person, and we do this a guest because most people listen and they don't watch. If they're watching, they totally know who you are.
They're like, what's happening?
However, the Charno fans that are listening, it's like this reveal. I spoke to this guest before we started recording, and I said that she was on our original list of people we wanted on, even before we recorded our first episode. And this is totally true.
That's true.
You were in our top 5. I was like, we got to get her on, and we agreed immediately. And so, without further ado, today we have the incomparable Mia Kaplan. Hi, Mia.
Hi, everyone.
Mia Kaplan.
Hi. So excited to be here.
I'm excited.
We're so excited to
and
have
if you guys can't
Obvi.
see Mia, she has an amazing green bandana on, trying to like updo my hat. I don't know. I'm loving it. I'm loving that look on me.
I'm
you.
the one that's
Thank
losing
you.
today because you guys have the fun headgear, and I'm like, meh,
You didn't get the memo.
right here.
It's okay.
Gosh.
That's
I
your
didn't.
that's your accessory today. You're totally fine.
That's
Perfect.
I love an accessory
Lovely.
like that.
I know.
Lovely. All right. So,
Awesome.
Mia, when did you, because like I was telling you before, I truly have like a sieve for a memory.
Yeah.
What year did you graduate from OSHA?
I graduated in 2021.
2021. Okay.
Yes.
Gosh, it's only been like 2 years. It feels like it's been so much longer. It's because I
know.
miss seeing you so much. That's why.
Aw.
Me too. Me
That's
too.
very sweet. Well, I will say I was
wh-
introduced to Mia at school, and then, Maggie, who we had on, who is pretty much my family, she and Maggie were friends. So I saw a lot of Mia that way. And then I got to see Mia on stage a lot too, which is what I can speak to because Mia, I would say this on off camera, you're very talented.
Thank you.
And I
Very.
truly mean that. And I know I've said that to you in person several times, but the things I've seen you do, very, very impressed, especially at such a young age.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, mature for your years, and truly enjoyed watching you. So
That's
I know
so true.
Chris, right? And Christopher got
Thank
to work
you.
with you, so maybe you guys can talk about the first time you worked together, and we can kind of go from there.
Yeah. When
What was the
that?
first show you did, Mia?
The first show that I did
What were all the
was-
shows that you did?
was
What were all the ones?
Jasper. The first show I did was Jasper.
Was it really Jasper? Oh,
Yeah,
I love
well,
Jasper and Deadland.
to this, like, I went in for callbacks first semester, and I really wanted to be in spelling bee, but I was a first semester freshman, and it didn't go that way.
Okay,
But
can
I
we
made
pause for a
Didn't pan
second,
out.
Mia? Which role in spelling bee would have been your dream role?
Rona, like without a doubt. And I made
100%.
I made it into the final callbacks for Rona, and it was like they started with like 21 of us, and then it was me and 2 seniors, and I was like, oh my god, like I'm gonna be the cover. I'm gonna be the understudy.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
But life didn't go that way, and that's okay. And then we did Jasper, and I was one head of a 3-headed dog, and it was fantastic.
Oh my gosh, I love that story a lot.
It was the character named Cerberus?
Cerberus. Yes.
I saw that show.
I did not remember.
Think I knew you at that point, Mia, but I remember really liking the show itself. I remember being a little confused. I wish that I had like brushed up on my mythology a little bit before. But I remember being very impressed with the talent in that show for sure. It was a unique show.
Quite the show. My first introduction to Caitlin O'Leary, who I went to college with.
Texas.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm. Maggie, and I had coffee with Maggie last week. It's a little. We have a little OSHA family, and Jordan Spina's here.
I know. I love that.
That's glorious.
I feel like we should have. You know what? We need to do a bonus episode when somehow you can all magically be together.
Yes.
Like, how fun would that be? Like a little
we can make
OSHA
that happen.
Texas State moment. I love that.
We can totally do that.
And you guys are all different years, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's cool.
Yeah. Caitlin just graduated. So last year we had one in every grade.
So she graduated, really and then Maggie, and then you, and then Jordan. And is there anyone else there yet?
No.
No, that's it. Waiting on one more.
Yes.
Man.
We'll see if next year happens.
Yeah. We'll see.
So, funny thing about Jasper and Deadland, the seniors this year.
Oh.
Gosh darn it. We have to get back in our groove with a guest. So
I'm the worst, Mia. I'm sorry. I'm gonna drink my water.
No, you're good. I love
are obsessed with Jasper and Deadland. They are making me promise, especially a particular one, Sophie Russ. She is like, please, can we do something from Jasper and Deadland for Showcase? Please, please, can we do something?
I have known Sophie Russ.
So it lives on.
I've known Sophie Russ since she was like 8 years old. We did like musical theater competitions together. Yeah. And we sang 3-Bedroom House from Bat Boy as a duet. And now I go to the program run by Caitlin Hopkins, who was the original mother in Bat Boy. And so Sophie Russ and I go way back.
Full circle moment.
That's crazy. Where does the obsession come from, Christopher? Like they like the music, or
I don't know. I think it's really one of those shows that nobody knew when it came, including me. I'm like, Scott Barnhart, what on earth are you doing?
Exactly.
What on earth? Well, or what in the underworld, I guess. But but it was just an interesting show that as we all did it and grew through it and went through it was just, there was little pieces of magic in it that just like, and there were earworms and like just so much fun.
I think too,
it was just so much fun.
And correct me if I'm wrong, again, I was just like a audience member, but it was the first time a high school had done that show, correct? Like ever?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I think it was the first time really anybody outside of they did a production in Seattle, I think, that Lindsay Mendez was a part of. Don't quote me on all of those details, but I think it was the first time it was really done on the West Coast other than that. Period.
And I think there's something super cool about that, aside from the show being interesting and has great music and good storytelling. I think when you're creating something, and we talk about this a lot, and Mia, I'm sure you run into this too, this kind of like copycat sort of world we live in, where there's so much media and so much footage of things at your fingertips that it's very easy to fall into, oh, well, they did it this way, or everyone's always done it this way. And I think there's something cool about creating from the beginning this idea of like, oh, we're the first people, age group, cast to create something like that, right? And that'll live on forever.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah.
That makes me want to talk about another thing that Mia was involved in that we did at OSHA called Now Hear This, which they completely rewrote and created a new licensed version, a module version of that was based on what we did and created
Yeah.
with the writers. It was that. So Mia,
How was that, Mia? That was during the pandemic, right? That was like
and
remote.
I was Christopher's assistant on that show.
Oh.
I was the assistant MD.
From your bedroom?
Yeah. Well, I remember being in the room the last night, and I was sitting next to Christopher, and I was like, I think I'm gonna go to Disneyland tomorrow. And Christopher was like, I don't know if that's a good idea. And then, sure enough, the next day the shutdown occurred.
Yeah.
And so thank you. I didn't go to Disneyland. But that was crazy. And then I ended up doing a lot of like marketing for the show and doing a lot of like video interviews, and I sort of took on this like virtual role of somewhat of a publicist for the show.
I did not know that. How did you enjoy that world? It's a very different world than being on the performer side of things. How did you like it?
Yeah, I liked it because I'm a bit of a control freak, and I love
that's why we get along.
Being in
that's
charge.
Why we all get along.
Yeah. And I just like had these ideas and was like, well, nobody else is gonna do it, so I'm gonna do it. And that, I think like that was the first. I assistant directed Evita. I've always known that I wanted to be behind the table slightly, but through that, I think I learned like, oh, like I can actually like really produce content on my own. And obviously through COVID, that's what we had to do. So
that's right.
Yeah.
COVID really changed. And I don't audition anymore. I'm not putting things out there. I know my sister is one person among many that I speak to about it, but it really changed that landscape and that world. And sometimes for 100%. The better. You know, like this whole, you can just send stuff in and submit, you know, via an email and a video is kind of crazy.
It's very accessible.
Yes.
Which
that's a great word for it, Mia.
It's opened up the world.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, though, there's something, and I don't know, I think maybe everybody's a little bit different. And maybe if you are a casting director or someone in the industry, you get a little better at it. I struggle. We did a lot of video submission for OSHA even, you know, and I struggle with a video. I don't know. Obviously for film and TV it's different. But theater, right?
Struggle
like
with video.
With live theater, the dynamic of an actual human in front of you and meeting them, one of my favorite things about an audition room is the before and the after, right? Like, who is this person? And do I want to work with them? And then are they talented and right for this role, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that I have booked jobs before I've done my material.
Yeah.
By, like, engaging in the room. So I miss being in the room a lot. And, like, I've done some audition processes through Zoom now, which has a similar feel to, like, you know, it's still accessible, but I get to engage with the humans and show them that I'm a person that they may want to work with.
Yeah.
But I definitely, and I also was just like way less critical of myself.
Yes.
When I got to do stuff in the moment, because
that's a really good point, Mia. That's a really
it back.
Great point. How do you? Okay, question. I'll ask you a question on that.
Yeah.
If you could give advice to, and this could be younger kids, it could be people, anybody. I always say, and this is probably not the right advice because I am not submitting self-tapes. I don't have to look at myself constantly and be so nitpicky. At what point, I tell my students, it's never going to be perfect. You know, when you have a chance on Zoom and or in an audition room, that's your chance. And you're probably not going to be perfect. And that's okay because humans are not perfect. But when you're filming yourself and recording, how do you get past that? Ooh, I could do it better. Like, what do you, like, are there any tricks you have?
When I started self-taping, it was like I would do 20 takes until I got it the most perfect ever. But then I, started getting like 4 tapes in a week. And it's like, I got to get these done.
You don't have time.
You have to. And really what they teach us here, which I like a lot, is like you have 3 takes where you get through the whole thing and that's it. Because you're not going to do it better because the work is beforehand. So the work is beforehand. And if you get in front of the camera and listen, like, I don't count the takes as my 3 takes if I flub a line. Like, that's not one of, it has to be 3 usable takes.
Okay.
And then I choose between those, and I have a community around me that I often do not choose my own takes. And
Interesting.
Smart. I actually like that a lot.
So I send it to my community, and like when I'm doing television film stuff, I send it to my manager, and I get input from an outside source because I know that I'm going to look at one singular moment that nobody 100%. Else is going to notice.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's such great advice, Mia. That reminds me of like when, and again, I'm much more in the live theater world, but when there's a show and, you know, intermission, I go back and the kids are like, oh my gosh, did you see me? I totally messed up. I'm like, no,
never.
Nobody noticed because you're so hypercritical and in the moment and aware of what you're doing. That's great advice, Mia. I hope people are listening to that who send in self-tapes. 3 full takes, listen to your community, get opinions. I like that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, yeah, because you are so self-critical. That is the worst. We are all our own worst enemies. And we're like, I sang that one note, like not perfectly in tune, but the whole rest of the take could have been killer.
Yeah.
And so you're like, forget it.
Forget
it. If you're going in live, you're gonna sing one note a little wrong, or you're gonna, you know.
That's so true. But I think the fear comes in, the power of the rewatch, because you never know when someone is going to, you're like, when you send this away, you're like, they're just going to sit and watch this over and over and over. When in reality, they're going to watch it once at best. Let's be honest. Right. You know, like they have hundreds of submissions. They're not going to like rewind and like nitpick it apart.
But at the same time, it lives on forever, right? That idea of like, I left it in the audition room. I didn't sing that note great. I kind of did something different. It wasn't what I wanted. It's done. But this idea of like somewhere that video of me doing, you know, like, and I think you, Mia, you seem to have a really good understanding of this is the industry I'm in. This is what I'm doing. We've got to figure out a way to just move through that and know that you're going to be doing it constantly, right? You've got to find a rhythm. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. And I mean, everything exists on the internet these days. So it's like, there's no such thing as privacy when you're in this industry right now. And that's okay.
Right. And I guess, the sooner you maybe accept that and understand that's the norm and learn ways to deal with it, the better.
Yeah. Even in theater, bootlegs or
totally. Well, one of my favorite things to show people, Mia, not people, but my younger students, when they crack, like I'll never forget, I think it was the first time I did Legally Blonde. I know where you're headed with this. My L cracked and her life was over. She thought her life was over. And I showed her that YouTube video of all the Broadway people cracking like in a row.
Yep.
Yeah. And I love showing it because I'm like, these are professional. And it's the same thing like in the sports world with my son, or when, you know, when they do something terrible on the field and you're like, you understand the professional players do this all the time. Yeah. Like no one's perfect.
We're humans, and that's the beauty of live theater.
I want to talk quickly about 2 shows I saw you in that I was just like, okay, Mia Kaplan, you are a queen. First of all, Carrie, I think is the one that stands out to me the most, truly. Yeah. 9 to 5 is the other one. We saw that
together.
But Carrie, I was so in awe of your performance. I was like, I truly fangirling. I think, first of all, that show's really hard. And Maggie was in it, and I was very excited to see her performance. And Maggie, girlfriend, go off. She was amazing as well. And I've told her. But I truly was like in awe of your depth, of your vocal ability, of your maturity. Because how old were you when you did that show? 17?
I was about to go into my junior year. So I was
16?
16, 17. 16, 17.
No, I can't. I truly... I want to know, like, how did you prepare? Did you, like, do a bunch of work? I truly was in awe. And Christopher saw it with me.
Yep.
You're amazing.
We did. We saw it together.
That show still, like, lives in my heart as a favorite of mine. Just because, I mean, working just, like, with my friends on something that we wanted to do was just awesome. And Julia gave me a lot of freedom. Which I really appreciated. And like, so going into this, I was like, who is this lady? I'm 17. She's old and religious. And like, how do I access her?
Yeah.
So I went and I did a lot of research on like cult mentality and extremist religious beliefs and like how you get to that. And I went through the story and really tried to connect the dots, and like through lyrics I gathered that that she had been assaulted and wanted to get as far away from that as possible. And I actually did. I was working at an acting studio in LA at the time called Zach Burnett Studios, which I am obsessed with. And I had this teacher who is now the head of the actor studio. She's like brilliant.
Cool.
And we were doing like chakra work, like meditation work. And so like the sacral chakra is the farthest away from your crown chakra, which is your connection to a higher power. So I was like, she wanted to get as far away as possible from that trauma. So I connected it through that and like felt that through my body viscerally, and like had to connect how the trauma informed all of it. And like, that is how I made her human.
I'm obsessed with this. I'm like fully obsessed with that whole thing. No wonder you're so fierce. You know, most kids would get cast in that show.
Yeah.
They're like, cool, I'm gonna sing this song. And I'm mad at my daughter. Like, that's like, and clearly,
Right. No.
obviously, Mia, you give me that response. That was seen on the stage. That was seen on the stage.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, that's so true. And that just goes to show what type of actor you have always been. And I feel like you put that level into any role you do, at least
And I think,
as a necessary point. Like, you don't have to go crazy, but like, you do what you need to do to access that level of connection with a character.
and that makes not only a good actor, but I think, and maybe if I back up a little bit for those people who don't know, we're acting like everyone knows the production of Carrie you did. It was a all student run. So Julia is 1 year older than you, or I mean, she was like 17, and she had this theater company. And I remember I knew most of the kids who were in it. Julia had done stuff with me, obviously Maggie, Logan, all like the whole cast pretty much. Yeah. And I honestly, and I've Maggie knows this, I was like, these kids are crazy. They ain't gonna pull this off. Like, that's how I felt. And now I'm really mad at myself for ever saying that. Like, I should have been more like, let's go, friends, because I sat there in complete awe of that production. Across the board, truly across the board. It was all students. And I love that you mentioned, you know, Julia gave you liberty and kind of let you run with it. And I think that's what made that show special, is that there wasn't this like one hand wanting to make it all their way, and that you all sort of brought your own thing to it. Ugh. Yeah. And I've seen Carrie since that one scene you do. I'm like, no one can do it like Mia. So now I'm mad.
Thank you.
So you've
and
ruined
like
it for
working
everyone.
with Maggie,
Thank you, Mia.
Maggie was my like exclusive scene partner in that show. And I mean, like, it makes a world of difference when your scene partner is giving you the world.
I mean,
so
shout out to Maggie.
Maggie and I are gonna revive it someday. I think
I would love that. Oh my gosh!
You know, we'll do a 54 Below show and bring out a couple of the.
I love that.
Couple of the songs.
I mean, and that show is hard for me to watch, but not with you guys. Like, I was like, oh no, this show's good. Like, I really
thanks.
I really, and I can't say it enough.
Can be a little like, why are we making Carrie a musical?
Yeah.
But, so, you know, the goal was to make it palatable.
Do you guys want to talk about 9 to 5 real quick? And then I want Mia to tell us like her favorite role and what she'd want to be in any show if she could do it, and like all her dreams and hopes. But Christopher, I know 9 to 5 was a big one for you. Do you guys want to discuss that show? Also a great performance.
Well, first of all, I love 9 to 5.
I love
and I just got to do it again recently, or play the show recently again, and it brought back all these fun memories, because we again had a killer trio for our 3 leads, and Mia sort of headed that up as Violet. And so here we are, and she's just killing everything, being the boss lady in the show and owning the stage and singing all the songs.
What was your favorite
In the
part about
basement.
that experience, Mia? About 9 to 5?
I mean, to this day, that show, I mean, speaking of my favorite role that I played, it's Violet.
Really?
Like, very,
Tell
well,
all.
Yes, I think so. And Little Red was also a big fun one.
Oh my gosh. Okay. When did you play Little Red? I'm directing Into the Woods right now. And when we were setting up this morning, I was like, dude, I'd love to see Mia play that role.
Yes, I played Little Red in the fall at Texas State last year.
I'm so mad I didn't get to see that. There's got to be footage. We're circling back to everything's on the internet.
The Texas State MT YouTube has all the videos.
I'm watching it this weekend. I'm obsessed with that
Amazing.
idea for you. You'd be a great
it
Little
was
Red. I'm sure you were
so fun.
fabulous. Okay, back
So
to
fun.
9 to 5.
Back to 9 to 5. 9 to 5. Oof. Well, I went into that show and I said, Violet is mine.
That's right.
I walked in.
She did.
Yeah. So I walked into the callback room in a full purple suit. And the summer previously, Maggie and I went to New York and did actor therapy with Ryan Scott Oliver and Lindsay Mendez. And
That's when I saw you guys in New York, Mia.
Yes, and we saw
Moulin Rouge together,
which was
it was so good. It was like
good.
right out of previews, right?
It was in previews.
Yeah. Oh, that
It
was the best.
So good. The best ever.
So Mia, I have to interrupt. Did you tell Ryan and Lindsay that we did Jasper and Deadland?
Oh, of course. And they
Just wanted to
remembered
make
us.
sure.
Like, yeah. Oh yeah.
I love that.
Oh yeah. Fabulous. And at this LaDuca sale, there was a pair of violet LaDucas, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna buy these, and I'm gonna wear them when I play Violet.
And she did.
And I did.
story
And I
so
did. And I
much.
did. And then I got the role, and immediately was like, okay, like we're stepping in. And surprisingly, I like knew her very well. Going into it, it wasn't that big. The biggest challenge for me was that goddamn alto harmony. Like she lives in the basement the whole time.
Yes.
Just made me.
Yes.
And
That's what I told
if
you.
know
She was
me-
like singing all the low notes.
Oh
yeah,
man.
yeah. Like the Shine Like the Sun harmony was the tenor line.
Yeah.
That's my dream. Just so you know,
Which-
Mia,
But
I'm a
Allison
tenor.
Janney.
That's my dream.
But
it's
Allison
Allison
Janney
Janney.
lives in the basement.
Is a tenor.
Yeah.
But especially in high school, still truly, I live in Soprano Land often. That's my home. So going to the basement was
An adventure. We'll just say it was an adventure.
But I mean, it was truly just like she taught me so much about like being a leader and also like I don't think that I would have been able to be as respectable as I have been like as a leader on set if I didn't do that show as a leader, because like truly when you're leading a cast, it's more than just like being a large part in the show. It's like you bring up the morale and you are responsible for how the space is
Mia,
in a way.
like now I'm just like, I want Mia on every show. You need to like talk to all of our students. You need to come into audition rooms
Yes,
and
of course.
grace them with all of this information. I love that you say that. I love that idea of the leader is not just the lead in the show. The leader is much more than that. And the fact that you took those experiences, and I'm going to say, you know, my bestie Scotty B, I'm sure had a lot to do with how he allowed that to happen. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think I don't know. I think
Absolutely.
there's something really cool to look back on experiences. And like you said, you're really familiar with your character. You felt good about it. You kind of knew you're like, this is my role. But then that leadership side to get out of a
Yeah.
character, a role, and an experience, that's awesome.
Yeah. And I mean, like, that show is so fun. So fun. And Jessica Lee
Yes.
Patty was there for the whole process. And, like, was just, it was incredible. And like one of the boys to this day, like I don't think I'll ever get to stand on a stage and like just like bask in the awe of being in like a suit with like sparkles behind me and just like, you know,
it's her Roxy moment. A whole bunch of boys.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Totally.
Yes. And I mean, and it's like, and I got to dance in a show as the lead, which was really fun. And I really got to explore. And I mean, like, Madison Osment is to this day, like, one of my dearest friends.
Who?
So, Maddie Osment.
Maddie.
Oh, Maddie.
Maddie-O. I love
Yes.
Maddie.
So I've
Maddie.
actually worked a lot with Maddie because she did a lot at my studio. And so,
Yes.
dude, talk about another powerhouse. Man,
Yeah.
I remember hearing that
Yeah.
girl sing for the first time and being like, what in the world?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, it's pretty cool to look at. So the trio of 9 to 5, I'm at Texas State, Maddie's at CCM, and Mackenzie's at Carnegie. So
Oh, my gosh.
we kind of did the thing.
You kind of rocked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How cool would it be to have that, like an alumni moment of the three of you reprising
Oh, yeah.
something from that show?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That would be
One
super cool.
of us will end up doing performing with the pros at some point, and we'll just bring the other.
Okay, here's what I'm
100%.
gonna put out there
back.
right now, Mia. When you come back to do performing with the pros,
Yes.
I would like for you to request in your contract a moment for Sharna and Christopher to sit in the front and just like be like Mia, like say you
Of
need
course.
them in the front.
I mean, Christopher will be music directing.
Can I
if-
just be fangirling then?
Well-
I'm totally fine
Yes. No, I mean, you can be
And-
up on the stage too. I'll bring you
with that. Okay.
up. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
I'll do the tenor line.
Yeah.
I'm good with tenor line.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
She'll double you on the tenor line.
Fantastic.
Because that reminds me that we still have to do your one woman show. That is still
Yes.
happening.
Yes.
Oh,
That is still on the
Wait,
agenda.
tell me about this. Is that something you guys
Well,
discussed?
This
During
has
Now
been
Hear
in the
This-
works for
Yeah. During Now Hear This, we sort of came up with this idea of like, wow, together, I think that Christopher and I could create one hell of a
Magic.
show, one hell
Yes.
of a cabaret.
100%.
So it's still gonna happen.
And you know what? With a cabaret, I've seen a handful, obviously, but I think what's really interesting, and I think a lot of people fall short on this, and I think this is where both of you would do really well together. Sometimes, obviously, the material you pick is huge.
Yeah.
Your talent in singing and whatever your relationship with your accompanist, but that banter, like that is hard. And I think people don't realize that. And they're like, oh, we're going to do this cabaret. We're going to do this thing. And then the banter kind of falls short. I think the banter would be really great. Like you guys, the
Yeah.
banter would be super good.
Thank you.
I don't know what you're
Thank you.
talking about. I have
think so, too.
no talent in that aspect at all, Sharna.
Just to fill some time while you just like play
Yeah.
some
Fill
chords
some
and
time.
like elevator music on the. I
Play
think
some
that's actually
chords. Yes, elevator
the best
music.
thing you do. I love it. Okay, so Mia, roles.
Man.
Yeah.
Little Red, totally see. Violet, is there a role you haven't played yet, aside from Rona and Spelling Bee, that like would be, and it doesn't have to be one, it could be several.
Yeah.
Like dream roles.
Yes. My biggest dream role of all time is Francesca in The Bridges of Madison County.
That is surprising to me.
Really.
Yeah. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
but I could totally see that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is like the dream of all dreams.
Okay, I love it.
I would like to do a production of Sunday in the Park where I switch off as Dot and George every night.
You can't see me, but I'm freaking out. Nobody can see me, but I'm freaking out.
I love
Wait,
it.
Yeah.
can you not let that dream die? I actually think
No, I
that is
won't.
one
I
of the
won't.
coolest things ever. How
Yeah.
amazing would that be?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then,
But then
so
you gotta
then,
get
would you
who plays
have
the other one?
person? Yeah. How would that pan
Yes. Yeah. So, I don't worry. I have the other person, and
out? You're like, I have a few ideas in my
Yeah,
in my
yeah,
back pocket.
one of my closest friends here. We've planned this out, and we
Great.
sing. We sing "Move On" together, just like in our free time. So, yeah.
So then
we're ready.
you would swap roles every night.
Swap.
Like you would both
Yeah.
play both roles, and it would be like every other night.
Yeah.
You know why I love this? From like a business standpoint, if that ever actually went through, it's like I got to see it twice. I got to come and pay for 2 tickets because I need to see Mia as one role, and then I need to see Mia as the other role, and I need to see the other person. I love that.
Yeah.
See, this is why I don't have $1 million yet, because I was going to be like, what if we just did one the first act and one the second act? Because then they could see that. But then you're like, no, now you have to come back twice.
You have to come twice.
That's why I think Spelling Bee did so well too, because of the improv portion of that show. I think a lot of people are like frequenting that, like they see it once and like, oh my gosh, I want to see it again, because you never kind of know what's going to happen.
Yes. Yeah.
Or you just, as part of the ticket sales, when you buy one ticket, it automatically is the price of 2, and they can pick another time to come.
That'd be great.
I love that. That's a good idea.
And then if they don't come, that's on them.
And then you got the money.
Already get the money.
That's right.
Yeah.
What else? What other? Do you have other roles or other shows or ideas?
I want to do Fun Home now, and when I'm older, because I want to do Medium Allison, and I want to do Older Allison.
Yes. I could see that. I think that would be right in your wheelhouse. That would be awesome.
Oh yeah, that would be super fun. I mean, there's so many things. I'm doing Rent right now, and
that's Christopher's one of Christopher's favorite shows.
It's one of my favorite music.
Having a blast. I'm Mark's mom, and I'm in the ensemble, and being in the show, like I really want to be Mark.
Yes. Okay. Rent, just so you know, Mia, we're old people. We're 30. We're not old. We're 30-11.
You're not old.
No, we're not. We're totally not.
We're
and
30-11.
I think in what the industry we're in, especially in education, arts education, all you young people, keep us young. But Rent was like our high school. Like I played my CD of Rent so much that it would no longer play. Like I knew every word to that show. I could play every role. I'll be any role. I would sit. So like I grew up with Adam Lambert. We did theater together, and he and I would sit in our car, and usually it was Aida, if I'm being honest, but sometimes Rent. Mm-hmm. But that, dude, Rent, and now if you go back and listen to it, at the time it came out, it was so cutting edge. It was so new. And now you go back and listen to these lyrics, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so timeless. Some of the lyrics,
timeless. It's brilliant.
It is brilliant.
It's brilliant. And I would love to do a Maureen moment. I just think like she is
you are
can see that.
100%.
Everything.
Yes.
Yeah. That's who I was hoping you said you were going to be, or you are.
Yeah.
You're Maureen.
But
because to watch you do Over the Moon, I would
die.
Kill to watch that. It's Over the Moon.
We'll do it in the cabaret. Don't worry.
Right?
Yeah.
You guys have a whole set list. You don't even need to practice.
So we've got that, and then we got the moment with Maggie, and then we got from Carrie, and then we'll do a 9 to 5 moment. It's going to be great.
Yes. It's going to be fantastic.
So Mia,
Watch
you're
out, 54
junior.
below. Here we come.
You're doing Rent. You've
Yes.
got one more year. Can we shift a bit and talk about your film life for a little bit? I'm not sure how much you want to or can talk about, but I would love to hear.
Absolutely.
So tell us what's been in the works with you, because it's been kind of exciting recently.
Yeah. So got into college, committed to Texas State, immediately booked a lead in a feature, which was like crazy.
Right for you.
Thought I was gonna have to drop out, but I called Caitlin Hopkins Wonder Woman, and she was like, no, like you can do your work. Like we'll keep it under wraps, and like you'll go and you'll do your work.
How amazing is that? That's awesome.
Yeah. So I arrive for my freshman year. I stay for about 6 weeks, and then I fly to Syracuse, New York, and stay for 2.5 months.
What? Did you just go by yourself?
Yeah. Well, my mom came and visited a couple of times throughout the shoot, which was awesome. And Ariel, who was going to school in the city, took the train up and got to be an extra in the movie.
What? Wait,
which
that's
was
cool.
Awesome. Yeah.
That's
and my parents
cool.
were also extras, which was super fun.
But essentially by yourself. Essentially like, hey, graduated high school, here I go. Just kidding, I'm going to film a movie. Wow.
Yeah. And they like rented me a car, and I'm like, I remember the first day it snowed. We were like on location too. So I was like driving like 45 minutes like in the snow, like like sobbing, like I'm gonna die.
That's not funny, but it's so funny because you're a kid.
It's so
you're just a
funny.
kid.
Yeah.
Like, really?
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I never driven in snow. I lived in Southern California. Like,
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and I went and I had the greatest filming experience ever. We had...
What made it so great? What made it like the best experience?
First of all, the story is something that I'm really passionate about. Second of all, our team was almost entirely women, which on a set, when you're speaking, especially when you're telling stories that are about, you know, coming into your own and discovering who you are, empathy is huge. And, you know, doing really vulnerable work is, I have found, cared for a lot more when there are women behind the camera.
that's a great way to put it. I was going to say you felt comfortable or you felt safe or you felt, you know, able,
Yeah.
but cared for, I think flips that script a little bit. And I know before we started recording today, you and I talked a bit about that. And I knew Christopher would want to hear that, and our listeners too. That's awesome. And then it was 2.5 months of that amazingness.
Roughly 2.5 months. And then I wrapped, and then I called Caitlin the day after and sobbing, and I was like, my work is not done.
For college, you mean? Like you were just like, I haven't
Yes.
finished anything yet.
Yes. And she's like, you're okay. Like, you just wrapped a film. Like, I'll give you an extension.
For her.
Yeah, which was great.
So
And
were you
I'm
trying
so-
to juggle your studies and your classes remotely while you were filming?
Indeed. My lunch breaks were me, like, in my dressing room.
That's a
like,
lot.
writing essays.
Especially your freshman year of college too, when
Yeah.
you're trying to like.
Yeah.
But you were able to like stay on track. You're like, you know, in terms of graduation
for the
and
most,
Within
for the
reason.
Yeah. I'm on track, and I got A's that semester too.
Okay.
So,
Yes.
love it.
yeah.
Of course you did.
Thank you. Yeah, but it was, I mean, like, the experience of a lifetime, and we're in post now, and hopefully it'll come out for the world to see very soon. But we're on strike, and you know, obviously as a union member, I'm supporting that. And
Of course. So it's dependent on
we'll
that.
see.
Pretty much, they have to wait and see how that moves forward.
Not necessarily. It's actually not necessary for them to wait in terms of selling, but to do press and also studios are just like their main focus right now is obviously not purchasing new content.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
yeah. So we'll
But
see.
eventually
but
we'll get
very
to see
exciting.
it. I'm very
Eventually,
excited.
yes, and it'll be funny for me to watch because now that was almost 2 years ago, and
Yeah.
yeah, which is
That's
great
really
and fun.
interesting because I think there's like stages of people's lives where they change a lot. Obviously when you're a little kid, but I do think there's a big change in a lot of people graduating from high school and in those 5 years after. I know for me, I changed a
Oh,
lot.
absolutely.
Not only just physically and, you know, for me personally, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I feel like my 20s is where you really find yourself and you learn who you are and like you have
Absolutely.
that freedom and you're a little more confident. And so, I think that'll be kind of a fun moment for you to be like, wait,
and
what?
I've also like been training for
Yeah.
these last 2 years too. So like rigorously training.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling I'm going to look at it and be like, that moment was a little interesting, but that's the name of the game.
But hey, and you know what? That circles
Yeah.
us back to the whole like trust yourself. Like
Yeah.
you're gonna they chose you for a reason, and maybe yes, you know, 21, 22-year-old Mia is gonna look at 17, 18-year-old Mia differently, but I'm sure you're gonna be fabulous. I can't wait to see it.
Thank you. Yeah.
But
and
I'm sure
still,
you
like,
had stuff
very
to offer
close.
then.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm sure you still had stuff to offer then from that perspective of where you are in your life.
Oh,
that
absolutely.
Might not be the same now. Which
Definitely
might work better.
Definitely. And
you
I was,
know?
I was playing a high schooler too. So bringing that fresh out of high school
That's right.
energy felt right. So
It felt good.
yeah. And I'm still super close to to everyone who worked on that. And
I think that's a really great part of that industry. Like you said, you know, you have your theater memories and, you know, we talked about a lot of those, but that's just going to be a jumping off point for you. And if you loved working with that team as much as you did, I'm sure they felt the same way, you know, about you. Yeah. And that's just a great connection to have moving forward. You know, this industry is so much about who you know, who you work with, and how you work with them.
All about that. Yeah,
totally.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, I do have a question. Do you have one love over another? Like, would you, if you had to pick one industry, would you do theater, like the Broadway track, or would you be more in the film or television even? I know those are kind of the same, but not really.
Yeah. I mean, theater is my first love, and I think will always live in that world. And, like, no matter if I'm doing musicals or straight plays or whatever, I think there's something so undeniable about the live aspect of it, and just like that instant gratification of like knowing that you're affecting someone.
Yeah.
But also, like, I love the fast-pacedness of being on film and TV, and like doing new stuff all the time is really fun.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, and, you know, there's definitely more money in film and television.
Yeah.
So,
girl, we hear you on that. And I actually think that's why a lot of people try and do both. You're so mature beyond your years in the way you're like talking about this industry. I don't know. It trips me out. Like,
I've been in the industry like professionally since I was 13.
I
so I sort of had to like.
I just still, most kids, and I say kid, you're an adult. I don't know. I love that idea of like, you seeing that you affect people. I think oftentimes in this industry, it can be so selfish that you can be so consumed with yourself and what you're doing. And am I doing it great? And how am I? And the fact that the first thing out of your mouth was, I love having that like effect on people immediately, and feeling that and knowing that is like such a wonderful character moment from a performer side, because you're in this industry, you know, it can be very self-centered and very competitive and me. I think you're going to like do both forever, and you're just going to be that person that like has the Broadway show and then maybe does like 3 films, and you're like, but then I won a Tony and I also just am doing this other film. Okay.
I look at like Beanie Feldstein's career, and that's like where I want to live.
I love that. Oh man, I love that. I have never done a really, really long run of a show. I think the longest I did was like a 8-week run. I did an 8-week run. And by the end of the 8-week run, I was like, thank you. I would like another show. I couldn't. But my sister toured with, I think Wicked was the longest one she toured with, or maybe Grease. But Wicked, I remember being like, girl, how do you do that show over and over and over? I have a friend who's been in Chicago on Broadway for like, I don't know, 18 years. No joke. He's played Mary Sunshine. And he loves it.
That's wild. And that's incredible. And I think like to do that sustainably is like, you gotta somehow find new discoveries in it. And also like a lot of the people that I've talked to who are doing long running shows, it's like, you know, you gotta go to class and learn new material. Like that's
I like
where
that.
and
Always
do
learning.
readings and like the thing about artists right now is like we're all creating work too, and we don't have the money to like pay people to read it. Yeah. So, you know, I mean,
hey friend, like, come over here and read this, please. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. And it's like, I love that. I love when my friends are like, hey, I wrote this thing. Like, can you come do a reading for me? And it's so fun. And also the skill of like, you know, cold reading something on the spot is like really awesome.
Do you want to write ever, Mia? Would you want to write, you think? Or?
Yeah. I started writing slightly in high school, and like, you know, I'm crazy busy schedule right now, but yeah, I would love, like, dream is to I worked on a show called Smilf when I was younger that was written, directed and starred the same person, and I was like, whoa, like, that's really cool. I want to do that. So yeah, that would be awesome. And I
feel like you'd be a good director. Just in talking with you, I mean, I've directed a lot of musicals and stage productions, and I think listening to you talk about theater, again, it kind of circles me back to this idea that you weren't like, and me, and me, and me. And I feel like you have this idea of the whole of a cast and an ensemble and what it takes to do this character work to really bring things to life. I think that'd be a really great avenue for you to pursue.
I would love to direct theater at some point and just live in the juice of it all.
Yeah, right? And being on the other side of it for a little bit. I think being an actor who turns director, I don't know. I think it makes for a better director. No offense, directors who weren't actors first, but I just
absolutely agree.
You have an understanding, right?
And as an actor, I prefer working with directors who were actors.
Yeah. I think too, I have a big dance background, and I think the same thing. Oftentimes, some of the fiercest dancers are not the greatest choreographers because it's not just about doing the steps and doing the choreography correctly. It's about creating a story and connecting, pictures and stuff like that. I think you would be a really good director, Mia. I will come see whatever show you do.
You.
I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Any last questions, Christopher, before we let Mia go to her class? She has a fun class in store today, so we have to let her go.
Ooh.
She's still in school.
I know, but
can
we not let her go?
No, we'd get in trouble. Clearly, it's like on the podcast. We're like, we're keeping Mia from class.
Oh gosh, no. There was one other aspect, and I don't know how active you are on it now, Mia, but you did something a few years ago that was all about like body image and things like that. Are you still very involved in like creating content and putting stuff out there about that? Because I felt like that. I feel like that's a really big passion of yours, and I think it's so awesome because I think you're 100% on target with that.
Yeah, I mean, like I also think that one of the parts of being an artist now and like having a platform is also being an activist and using your platform for good and like and so as I was going through the college audition process, I was noticing just different things and like about getting boxed into specific places and stuff. So I posted a video just like sort of talking about my experiences as a plus size person in the industry. And so the movie that I did, Empire Waste, is about body acceptance and existing in bigger bodies and like different bodies, differently abled bodies, and how we are all worthy no matter what we exist as. And at Texas State, I've brought my my beliefs and shared them, and I am still extremely outspoken about all of that, and it's become part of my activism. And I've also
do you ever get any resistance to any of that, or have you experienced pretty?
Really?
Not at Texas State. At Texas State, I've actually like lovely responses, and if something happens, like I speak up on it, and we discuss it. But just like there are people in the world who don't believe in like believe that people are unhealthy and are not existing with joy, and that's something that we have to deal with. And I also like still get placed in boxes often when I'm in the industry, but I have really wonderful representatives and agency managers, and have talked to all of them about this, and like I will say no if a project talks negatively about my body.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah. So that's like a development in my career, and just like sort of and also like having done the movie, I get to be a little bit more specific about what I go out for. And I really am only interested in telling stories that go along with what I believe in.
Which I'm so proud of you, and I know, this younger generation, they can use like you mentioned, using this social media platform or a little bit of this traction that you've had and you're going to be seen and you're going to be in the spotlight, like seeing you use it for something that is good for younger girls, that is good for anybody dealing with body image issues. I think that's so compassionate of you. Again, like,
thank you.
Yeah. And I truly mean that, because you can tell that it's something you feel strongly about. And even the way you're talking about it right now, I feel like a discussion, I don't know, I'm a huge conversationalist, right? So if someone comes at you with, like Christopher said, disagreeing or some kickback, having this, just listening to you talk about it, I feel like you're really bringing, you're informing people, right? And everyone has their beliefs, but like being able to have the conversation surrounding it and use your voice. Yeah. That's pretty wonderful.
For sure. And I think I'll never stop talking about it, because I also just like, it's what it's what I needed as a young teen. And like, it is, and I'm so excited because like this movie is, if I saw it when I was 13, I think would have really altered the way that I viewed myself.
That's so, I can't wait for it to come out. I can't wait for it to come out. Yeah. And again, this like selfless, like seeing how your work is going to have an effect on whomever, and you don't know who's going to see it, that 13-year-old girl, wherever, that watches that, and knowing like, oh my gosh, my work on this, could really change someone's perspective of themselves or how they feel about themselves and their, I love that, Mia.
Totally.
Well, good for you.
I think the one thing that Mia does really well is, even when you have this topic you're so passionate about, you don't come across as like the pushy, judgy, finger wagging situation that so many people you call activism and everything like that, like screaming and yelling and pushing this. And I'm like, that's not the way to reach people. And so I think that your perspective and how you approach situations is so key. And I think you do an awesome job at it. So thank you for that.
Thanks. Thank you.
On that note, oh my gosh, Mia, you can go to your class. Hopefully,
I know we can talk for
like feeling great, girl.
Yes.
And I'm just saying, if I ever produce Spelling Bee or Sunday in the Park, where I'm just gonna call you up, okay? Be like, Mia, I need you out here.
Fantastic.
Christopher and I need you. Come on down.
Yeah.
Love it.
Great.
Come on down.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, Mia. Truly, I know, like, taking this time in your busy schedule, we really do appreciate you. And again, we got
Thank you for having
we checked
me.
that box of having you on because you've been on our mind for the last several months for sure. So thank you.
Right.
Hey, good luck with the rest of this year and with Rent. Enjoy that experience. And then maybe after the movie comes out, we can have you back on.
Fantastic. Yeah. I would love that.
I would love that.
Yeah, definitely. Great.
Oh gosh, thanks again, Mia. And thanks everybody for listening. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram at Charnopher Official. Check out uncommonpod.com. And on that note, Charnopher and Mia out.
Oh, Mia.
Oh, man.
Mia, you're so inspiring. Oh my gosh.
Thanks.
This concludes another episode of Uncommon Sense. If you're ready for more of this fresh, hilarious, and unique perspective on the world of entertainment, education, and life, be sure to subscribe right now to catch every episode. If you gasped, laughed out loud, or even snorted, share the show with your friends and aspiring entertainers because, let's be real, sharing is caring. For more Charnopher, tune in to their witty insights by checking out the website uncommonpod.com or connecting on social media. Tune in next week and get the real insider scoop on another episode of Uncommon Sense.